We're moving our office at the moment, and it's a big move for us, and this is us for the next 30 years. So it's some big thinking in this new change. And what we wanted to embark on is an incredibly sustainable project and a project filled with innovation. So I wanted to do things I didn't know how to do. And I'll just talk about a couple of those with you. We found this little patch halfway between the airport and the city in Alexandria, and you can see it on the top right, and it's a conservation area. So the council's listed all these old warehouses and they'll be preserved. And so that's the building that we bought there. And it's what we're attracted to is the conservation area filled with lanes like this and buildings like this that have all been listed in various degrees. And we just think that's going to be unreal in the future. It's not there yet. All our neighbours are smash repairs, biscuit making places, dim sum manufacturing. Someone does body butter. I was wondering what the smell was. And so what we wanted to do was to celebrate that kind of volume in that space and then to build a new building out the front. And the idea of it was that it be this building that would look over into the old warehouse and operate completely in the tradition of an old industrial building. So old industrial buildings have a shed out the back, and at the front you have an office and normally have a mezzanine where the boss sits and looks over to make sure everybody's working. We're doing the same kind of thing with our office as well, and then I'm going to live upstairs. And so we want to sort of to operate a little bit in the language that we do, but to use the vernacular of old style buildings. So we always go on this kind of idea of exploring the space, developing the space, and it's never a linear process for us. I feel like it feels like tacking into the wind until you really find the right solution, and that can be quite hard. Some of the ideas we explored were old stairs in old places that were made from wires and suspended, ideas of joinery that would light up the space and to reflect the way we work today. And then we build models of the space, and we're creating this kind of big, beautiful square warehouse space with 5 desks for 5 teams and walls down the side that separate the materials library on the right from the canteen at the back to the lane, to archive and model making studio and a front reception area. And then above that we have a mezzanine space. So it's a very simple plan. So the rough moves, and we've built half this now, is to knock down the front of the building that was sort of altered and added and changed and full of asbestos and all the things we didn't really want. Take that down, but to leave the rest of the structure, take off the old asbestos roof, and then build new structure through the front of the building with a mezzanine space and a slab for new floors above, put offices and meeting rooms into that space, and then build a new apartment across the top of that, and then wrap all that in a beautiful brick skin, which we're laying at the moment, and clad it with metal, put glazing in that vein of being an old warehouse building. It's all multi-pane steel frame windows, put a new roof on it, put 255 solar panels on the top of the building with rainwater tanks and battery storage. And so one of the major innovation aspects for our studio is we don't have air conditioning in the space, and we've invested a lot in trying to model this, and what we're going to do is to run underfloor heating and underfloor radiant cooling through the space. And it works in different ways. In winter it works very well. It's like underfloor heating, and what we do is when it's a nice day, like a cooler day, we'll open the windows during the days, and when it's cold, we'll close the windows and run the heating. When it gets really cold, we'll run the fans pushing the air down at very low velocity just to keep the warm air down in the space. And every night we'll change the air regardless. So all the windows open up at night, and that's all controlled by the building management system. In summer it sort of does the opposite, and it really works on the fact that hot air rises and cold air hangs down near the ground. So we run the radiant underfloor cooling, and it cools the lower half of the room. We try to pre-cool the space during the evening, so we open up the windows every night, allow fresh air to come in and fill up the huge volume of air, and then we cool that air down, so when you arrive in the morning it's quite cool, and then slowly that builds up in the day. Days like today, the windows will open. If it's hotter than that, they'll stay closed in the day. This basically means that the space will be conditioned with no air conditioning as such. We have one in the boardroom in case we have 20 people in the room, and one at reception in case it gets very hot. But other than that, there's no air conditioning in the space. This is the look of the building. So I was mentioning we're trying to design it in a way like it's an old warehouse. So we're using black brick like you would find in the area, galvanised steel windows, and a zinc aluminum roof across the top of the building, or galvanised roof. And this is just the architecture of how it opens and closes. And it's made for our office, so the windows are for what we need, and the reception is for what we need. It's not designed for resale at all. And that's the view over the studio space. We make models, we pin up work, we play a lot with materials and products, so the design is specifically for all of that. And we want this kind of place that's buzzing and messy and kind of full of ideas and creativity. For us, it's about making. A client said to me yesterday, can we make a prototype? And I said, yes, we've got the space now to do that. So I imagine what we'd be doing in this space from the roof trusses and so forth is making prototypes and pinning them up. So that's kind of a big move for us in that space. On the right through there, you can see our staircase, which is made from terrazzo and suspended from above. And then this is the structure of it. So it's 54 wires that loop up and down about 9 times and hold up the stairs and form balustrades. So kind of like this way of exploring with form. We build that digitally, those little dots of testing that it meets the 125 sphere requirement for the BCA, and then in the space, just how that plays out. So we work very hands-on, very old tech with cardboard and full-size mock-ups and so forth, and we also work in high-tech ways. So the roof of the building is another thing I wanted to see if I could make happen but didn't know how, and that's made from vaulted catenary-shaped vaults. And what we wanted to do is build 2 big ones, 2 small ones, and have the windows in between and explore the way that light would come into the space. We found some, I'll call them geeks from UTS, but really smarty pants people who helped us design this to the optimum structures. And you can see through there the bricks all step, they offset by 50 mils each, so they rifle through the space, and we can build that in a way with no cut bricks in the space. That's the kind of idea. So that goes into the space where you have small volumes, large volumes. Again, I feel like we're unconventional clients. We don't have doors in our apartment. It's very open. And then these are kind of visualizations of what the space might feel like, and then running through. So it's kind of an unusual space for a client that doesn't really want to build conventional stuff in this case, and then running through into the space. So it's all about the way light comes into it. We don't have an amazing outlook, so we're going to build the architecture of the space and celebrate that. Again, quite raw, just basic white bricks made down south, and very much a combination of living and working, which is kind of how we live our lives at home. In the process, I wanted to really enjoy the whole collaboration, and we collaborated with many different people. We brought bricklayers and concreters into the design process. I recommend all of that except for the concreters. It's like, I called it like herding cats, like keeping them in a meeting table. But this is having the bricklayers, the engineers from our team, the UTS team, all coming together and working out how to make this. And we built a prototype, which I'll show you, and it all went beautifully. Up inside the space, we've tried to engage the team in various points to show them the process of building, but also to kind of enjoy and appreciate that. So you can see the attraction of the old shed. It just has this extraordinary structure that you can't get today. This is building of the prototype. So we've done a full-scale prototype of the roof structure. We made a shell from UTS. They cut that out in 1 day. We laid all the bricks across the top of that in 1 day, and then we shotcrete that in another day. These are probably 2 days apart, and put a very thin 60 mil shell across the top of the concrete. And then presto, 2 days later, we kind of open it up. There you have your beautiful shell structure, very fine. We didn't know how to do it. We wanted to find the right people, and it all sort of worked perfectly. And if anything, maybe we didn't need to do the prototype. Maybe it was just not necessary because it went so well. But it doesn't always work like that. And then for like all these different aspects, we try to kind of engage in this very collaborative way of building to create a beautiful space. We don't want to build it and feel like at the end of it, it's not quite what we wanted. That's me. Well, how long?
Done. That was perfect. You can't sit down just yet. I'm going to chat to you. And I've broken my rule. I tell everyone not to wear skirts, or out of the girls at least.
Oh, I can sit down here now.
Yeah, you can sit with me.
Great, thank you.
So I think they like it, for starters. There's echoes, of course, of Indigo Slam with the curved concrete and also the rail operations building that you did with the brick
big arch,
arches.
yeah.
So what are the other elements that you've been able to bring together into this project?
So I suppose that for me it's been about innovation is probably at the core of it, and also just to kind of say, what do we need as a company? How are we going to build that? How do we need to work? And then not pay any attention to anything else. So very customized for how we work.
Yeah.
And this idea of innovation is the structure for the space, the stairs, the air conditioning, carbon zero as well.
Yeah.
So we'll make more energy than we use in the space.
And that's a really important point, just the sustainability of this building. Now, you've done an incredible building, I think it was early in 2000, with the APRA building, which is won incredible awards about sustainability. So how important is that for you as a theme and, you know, I guess a responsibility as an architect?
Yeah, but like the clients, different clients have different sort of attractions to it. For us, it's really important, but other clients may not want it, so I don't force it upon other people. But for us, it's like I kind of, you know, I sort of, every now and then I feel really sad about the world that we're just kind of blatantly driving forward with V8 cars and not really paying attention to it. And I feel like if it's my project, I'm going to do the right thing in that way. So everything's designed for longevity as well. And as I said, we'll reharvest water and make more energy than we need.
Now, and when I heard you speak in Berlin, I mean, we see Indigo Slam, it's incredible grand gestures, but it was the fine detail on the louvers that got me. You're painstaking in your detail. What are things that we might not know about this project that have really taken a lot of time?
Yeah, it would be the same level of detail again.
Right.
So, I mean, it's kind of hard to show that before you build it, but all the windows are electrically operated in this case. We have a building management system, open closes things, but they're all customised, so nothing's off the shelf.
Of course.
We've designed the glazing sections, we've designed I've done the rolling doors, you know, the rollers on the rolling doors as well. The door handles, there's just lots we've gone through. We've made our own brackets for the accessible toilets, so all the framework is designed and made by ourselves.
Off the shelf in this
just about
project.
nothing is off the shelf. It kind of multiplies the workload as well, so it's not an easy amount of endeavour there. But I do think it's an investment for 30 years in showing what we can do. Yeah.
It reminds me again with Indigo Slam, you started with this one notion, it was one great idea. You always say it's space planning and one great idea. So in that case, it was a 100-year house. What was the singular idea about this project?
Yeah, it was, the singular idea is the modern warehouse today, so an industrial building today is what it's about.
Yeah. You're living on top, you will be on top. How do you feel about that separation of work and home? Because you're doing that at Burke Street at the moment.
Yeah, like it really works. It works brilliantly for me. So I will, you know, go for a jog in the morning, and then I start early. I go home for dinner, and then I often pop down to work in the evening.
Yeah.
It works well if you know, I don't have a normal kind of work-life balance, and that's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Sorry?
You're an architect.
Yeah, I'm an architect.
William draws every morning and every night, and often on Saturdays you'll spend time drawing. So you have a team of designers and interior designers and architects, and a lot of, I guess, young guns coming through that are on CAD and Revit and programs. How important is that that intuition of drawing to you?
For me, it's like I use it to discover. So I go drawing, it's like searching. I go drawing to discover. The guys all have different mediums, so they'll use CAD and they'll go through different ways. But in the office, I do encourage that. I want people to draw and to put detail paper on. I think they learn stuff from that process.
Yeah.
It's easy to throw in the bin once it's, you know, on a bit of paper, I think. Much easier than a CAD drawing.
Yeah, true. And last question, which will be a theme throughout this as well, is just about open versus closed spaces. And one of the articles we did on our blog, it's looking at all the research, and open plan can get a really bad rap because of the distraction, but it obviously works for you guys. Do you have reflective quiet areas as well?
Not enough where we do now, but in the new space we'll have four dedicated quiet areas.
Okay.
So people can get away and work quietly and book a room.
And then just as a dovetail, I think, to Sarah, who I'm going to introduce, who does the huge piece before a design project, how did you guys approach this? Because you intuitively know your own client. So did you go through the formal process of discovery, or did you just think we know what we need in a workplace?
I think we also do some workplace design, so I am familiar with your world, Sarah, a little bit. We knew a lot about it, but we also spoke about it as a team and talked about what we wanted to get out of it. And our team leaders talk about culture a lot and how do we develop and build the culture of the organisation. So that's ingrained in what we do on a daily basis.
Perfect segue for me. Now, will you have us all to your place when you finish? Maybe do an insight there.
Absolutely.
Please thank William Smart.